Guys, so we're about to start the actual debate now, so if you could all quiet down a bit.
Choice means choosing what job or career to follow, if and when to marry or have sex with, or who to have sex with, whether to have children or not, having ready access to contraception and safe early abortion, safe-sex education in all schools for all pupils, boys and girls. It means not having to suffer the fear and stigma and poverty of unwanted pregnancy, unwanted parenthood and STDs as God's punishment for illicit sex, as defined by the religions. Equality means sharing childcare and work in the home, full access to education and training for work and the professions, to be able to work outside the home and participate as equals in all aspects of work, in the home and in the workplace, in government, in all aspects of public life and decision making. And it means equal pay and pensions and state child support as of right, not dependency. This agenda applies to all women, not just Muslim women. Is that really too much to ask? In Britain and much of the West, with increasing secularisation and liberal attitudes, has come more progressive social policy, but it has been hampered at every step of the way by the religions. It is instructive to look at the lives of women before atheism, secularism and humanism forced their way onto the agenda in Britain. How much better the world would be today had intellect been the root of progress, not physical strength and brute force, and the prejudice and discrimination that has excluded women and their intelligence and experience from education, academia, the professions, administration, government, and if men had the humility and good sense to share the caring, domestic and emotional experience of personal relationships. In debating this subject, particularly and generally, and particularly this issue, over the past few years, I have come to recognise a clear pattern of fallacies, excuses and denials that are used to distort clear consideration of the arguments, and they crop up in every discussion. Harking back to the Golden Age, there is no Islamic society today to which we can compare. Denial of bad behaviour in Islamic societies. Different but equal. Invalid comparisons. Using anecdote and personal opinion to counter factual evidence. Shifting the blame from religion to culture without recognising the role of religion in shaping culture. Rules are rules that can be totally contradictory from every point of view, from a scriptural point of view in particular. Quoting religious texts and theological opinion to prove the truth of religion is a nonsense. Use of complex and confused theological contradictory obfuscation to stifle debate. Denial of social psychological pressures, social or psychological pressures in the inculcation, reinforcement and acceptance of religion. Denial's role in their own subjection. Freedom and equality as a choice misses the point entirely. It is implicit in having freedom and equality that you are free to choose that equality. And if you don't want it, you don't have to take it. Who decides? The converse is not true. If you do not have choice, you are stuck with inequality. And there are many, many quotations that can be culled from all the scriptures that evidence the overt misogyny of the patriarchal religions. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Sue, for those arguments. I'm now going to pass it to Dr. Nasreen, who's going for the motion that Islam does not oppress women.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Assalamu alaikum and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, Sue mentioned that the women are at the back of the hall today. If you'll notice, they're also in an elevated position, which is basically where Islam looks to put the woman. Okay. Does Islam oppress the woman? Subjugation, violence, inferior, discrimination, oppression, seclusion from society, enslaved to men, second-class citizen. Put these words together, and no doubt the phrase Islam and women comes to many in the minds of the West. So when this January, the multi-faith organization Faith Matters produced this report that said that of the 5,000 people who convert to Islam in the UK each year, over 2/3 are women, and many university educated, I'm sure the question why came into the minds of, again, many people in the British public. The UK is not alone in this trend. According to the Council on American Islamic Relations, of the 20,000 people who convert to Islam in the US each year, over 75% are women. And this is a ratio mirrored in many other Western societies. This trend of women turning to Islam is not just mirrored in conversions in the West, but also anyone who lives in the West can see the changing landscape of the last two decades, where Muslim women are turning back to Islam, adopting the Islamic dress code, the Islamic values and the lifestyle. And poll after poll of the Muslim world show increasing numbers of Muslim women wishing to live under the Islamic Sharia laws, such as the Gallup poll in 2005 called "What Do Muslim Women Want?" that surveyed thousands of women across the region who said that they saw Islam, not Western values, as the path to the economic and political progress of their countries. So why would thousands of women want to embrace a way of life that to so many represents the embodiment, like Sue mentioned, of misogyny, the antithesis of women's rights? This question of why is one which is often ignored by Western media, Western politicians, and Western feminists. It's almost as if the reasoning of these women who see Islam not as the path to their subjugation, but as the path to their liberation, it's almost as if it doesn't matter what their answer is to this question, because a judgment has already been made. Islam oppresses the woman. It's unquestionable. It's indisputable. It's a fact. Or is it? Surely, if anything, this fact of thousands of women turning to Islam, East and West, should surely at minimum merit thinking people to question the soundness of this belief that Islam oppresses the woman, and to actually ask the question, what exactly is the appeal of Islam that has so many women, many who are born, bred and educated in the West, to be convinced, willing to go against the tide of popular fashion, willing to leave all the freedom of the liberal lifestyle in exchange for the laws and limits set down by Islam. So today, I would like to address two things. Firstly, how the yardsticks used to judge Islam and say that it oppresses women how these yardsticks are flawed. And secondly, how the whole framework of the debate on women's oppression and liberation needs to be redefined. Away from does Islam oppress the woman, to what type of values, laws and system can secure the respect of women, protect them from abuse, exploitation and violence, establish their full rights in education, politics, economics and the legal sphere, create and maintain strong family units, and ensure healthy and productive interaction between the sexes based upon mutual respect, where women can have an active but safe public life. So I would like to address these two issues. So first, what are the yardsticks often used to claim that Islam oppresses the woman? Firstly, traditions. Islam is blamed for oppressive traditions such as forced marriages, honor killings, genital mutilations, the seclusion of women from society. But even a brief study of Islam would show that these practices are non-Islamic customs, that Islam finds abhorrent, and that Islam says should be eradicated from communities, including all forms of violence against women. For example, regarding forced marriages, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, a divorced or widowed woman should not be given in marriage except after consulting her, and a young girl, a virgin, should not be given in marriage except after her permission is sought. Secondly, Sharia and Islamic rule has become associated with the injustices meted out against women by regimes across the Muslim world today. Saudi Arabia, Sudan, Iran, Nigeria, the list goes on. Whether monarchies, theocracies, or tribal systems, these regimes, their rulings are based upon the whims of despots and kings, and not upon Islamic texts. Their constitutions and laws have as much to do with Islam as Mubarak and Ben Ali had to do with democracy. That's the way we should see this. It is therefore unacceptable that the treatment of women within these states be used as a yardstick for judging the status of women under Islamic rule. If you want to understand the status of women under Islamic rule, do not use these regimes. Use the structure, the constitution and the laws of the Islamic Khilafah state, the Caliphate state. And hopefully in the discussion we can talk about exactly what the difference of this is to the regimes of today. Thirdly, Islam has come to be evaluated based upon whether its laws conform to Western secular liberal values, such as personal or sexual freedom or gender equality. The 20th century philosopher and thinker Isaiah Berlin once said, "To judge one culture by the standards of another culture argues a failure of imagination."